Did you hear about the hate crime bill that ended up stirring up, well, hate? If you haven't heard about it, you haven't been paying attention to what the SNP government in Edinburgh at the Scottish Parliament in Holyrood are up to. It's a bit difficult in principle for an SNP government to introduce a hate crime bill because, frankly, their whole shtick is hate of the English. That's my point of view, it's not theirs. They say that their nationalism is civic and joyous. Did you ever know a nationalist movement that sought to separate a country from another was civic and joyous? I haven't met them yet, but that's a matter of taste. That's not the reason I'm against the hate crime bill. I have fought all of my life against those who evince hate or conduct themselves in a manner that is likely to incite hatred, because the twin brother of hatred is usually violence. The SNP's Justice Minister, Humza Yousaf, has some pretty dodgy connections himself, and he's really not the man to pilot through this kind of legislation. It is entirely friendless. Indeed, one suspects that many in the SNP's own ranks don't want to pass this bill. But outside the SNP, it has no friends at all. All the other political parties are thoroughly opposed to it, and it has united in opposition organisations as disparate as the Roman Catholic Church in Scotland and the Police Officers Union, the Police Federation, the Faculty of Advocates, the lawyers who'd have to fight the cases in the Scottish courts are completely opposed to it also. Indeed, much of civil society in Scotland opposes this, not because they're in favour of hate crimes, but because this bill, if it becomes an act, is likely to make matters worse. Scotland being an overwhelmingly white country, something like 96% of people in Scotland are white, there's actually not a lot of obvious racism against people of colour around. The Asian population in Scotland is extremely long established, quite successful, and has many friends. No, the main axes on which a hate bill would operate are the old traditional forms of hatred in Scotland, namely the religious divide. Now, I come from one part of that religious divide. We probably would claim we have been the main victims of hatred of us because of our ethnicity and our religion. But there are new bogeymen, bogey women, bogey persons, bogey, what's the pronoun I'm searching for? You get my drift. J.K. Rowling, who actually wrote the famous Harry Potter novels in Scotland, who has a house in Scotland and regards herself as Scottish as me or anyone else from the country, though she was not born there. She's been effectively drummed out of Scotland because she's accused of inciting hatred of trans people. Now, I don't want to reopen that old wound, but if you believe that, you'll believe anything. But the point is, you don't have to believe it. If a single person complained about a single page in a J.K. Rowling novel that they believed it constituted a hate crime, the Scottish police, hard-pressed with many other actual crimes to investigate, would be sent scurrying, looking for Miss Rowling to interview her. If a single person claimed that the songs at Celtic Park or Ibrox Park, the stadium of Glasgow Rangers, had so offended them that they thought it constituted a crime under the hate crime bill, the police would be forced to investigate it. If necessary, the lawyers and the judges would be forced to adjudicate on it. It's all nonsense. There are plenty of laws already extant in Scotland that can deal with genuine incitement to hatred and violence We don't need another one. Calling something a hate crime bill is itself asking for trouble. It's asking for victimhood. It's asking for people to be offended. Now, nobody has the right not to be offended. I myself am offended all day and every day, but I like to think by more serious, more real things. So, I'm here to argue. Ditch the hate crime, Hamza. You'll thank me for it if you do.